Hello everyone, in this video we're going to have a look at the const keyword. So in C++, when you use the const keyword, which looks like this, right, the const keyword is used to make something constant, and constant means something that does not change. So if I make a variable constant, then I cannot change its value. Now for example, or let's just create it here, right? So I'm going to create an integer variable called x, and I'm going to make it 36. Right now the thing is, I can change this value into something else, okay, and if I run this program, it's not going to give me an error. See, now the moment I put const in front of it, it's gonna and I try to modify this, then it's gonna give me an error. It's gonna say that it's a read-only variable, you cannot write to it. So that's the thing with const. Now why do we use const? Well, there are certain areas, like when you want to create an array, okay, int array of say I'm just gonna put this down over here, okay, and I want to make it a size of x, okay. Now it's not really good practice if you want to make a size of array, a size maybe 7, and you use a variable. It's better to do this straight ahead like this, put a number inside those brackets instead of putting a variable. And that's because the thing is, if you put a variable, the variable can change. I mean, it's called a variable after all, so it can change, and once it changes, then the array size can also change. It can shrink or it can expand, and that will also maybe give you some garbage values, especially in C++. So to mitigate this, to mitigate it in such a way that we ensure that x cannot change, we put the const keyword in front of it, okay. That's one way in which we use this keyword, okay. So yeah, now that's something about const in terms of variables. We can also use the const keyword in functions. So for example, I create a function, I'm going to call this void, right, and void maybe f, just a simple little function. I'm just going to call it f, and now I'm going to put a parameter inside of it, right, and I'm going to call this int a. I'm just going to say cout a, right. Now of course it's just going to cout a, but I can go ahead and I can make this const, okay. I can make it a constant parameter or constant argument. So if I make 2837, okay, and I'm gonna run it, it's gonna print this out for me. But here's the thing, why would we do this? Well, we would do it because if midway inside of the function declaration you would maybe assume I'm going to increment this, right, I'm going to change the value, try to change the value, it's going to ensure you cannot change it. So it gives us an error saying that it cannot change. So that's why you would use it. I can also remove the const variable or keyword from there, and I can put it over here, right. Now what this does is it makes a constant function, okay. And what a constant member or a constant this is a constant function, and it's usually used inside the context of a class, okay, when you have in object oriented programming. So we're going to create a class, I'm just going to call it fruit, alright, and just put a semicolon at the end in case I forget, right. Now I cut that out and I paste it in here. Okay, so we have a void function, a constant void function called f with a parameter inside of it as well. So what const does is this type of function. A const function such as this one right here, which cannot change any data member. So a const function it's just constant. You cannot change any variable. So if I have a variable over here, maybe int x or int age, and I'm gonna make it 88, quite old. Let's just make it 8 years old, and I'm gonna should not pass in anything. Let's just make this age, and I'm gonna say age is equal to 8, right? Actually it is 8. Let's just make it 28, right? So the moment I call this, let me just delete that, call this function, okay, it's gonna give me an error because it's gonna say that error f was not declared. Sorry, forgot to actually create the class. So fruit apple, okay, then we say apple.f. Once I try to compile it, you can see that it says age is equal to 28. So error, assignment of member fruit apple in read-only object. So it's saying that you cannot assign this. However, if I remove the const keyword and then I compile the program once again, then you're going to see it does compile, and once I actually go ahead and run it, then it does run, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I forgot to see out. Basically, you see it didn't give us any errors, so it worked. Now that's something called the const keyword inside a function, creating a const function, a constant function. Now another way you could use this, and by the way, just as a side note, you cannot use the const keyword for constructors. Okay, so when you have a fruit constructor, you cannot use the object on, the keyword on that constructor, and that's because once you call the constructor, you have to initialize the values. So that's the thing. You need a constructor for that to initialize values, and of course, if you have a constant function, then you cannot change the attributes. And another thing to note about constant functions is that a constant function can only call another constant function. So a quick example of that would be this one. If I created another function on top here, I'm going to say p, right, and I'm just going to say cout something, cout hello. Spelling is wrong. Alright, and I'm going to make this function constant like that. Let's just delete age for now. Okay, and now I make this also const, and inside here I actually go ahead and call this function out. So let's run this program, and you can see that it prints out hello. So it actually worked. It called p. However, if I were to delete the const keyword from there and then run this, it's going to give me an error because it's saying that this is a const function and this isn't a const function. So you can only call functions that are constant. Okay, so that's something else about constant functions. Then you can also use the const keyword with objects. Like we have fruit apple, we can use const fruit apple. So we can put a const in front of it, and what this would just do is that it'd we cannot modify the contents of a constant object. So I cannot go in here and say maybe just like we had age at the age previously, right, int age, and I set it maybe into I set it to 47, I wouldn't be able to change that. So let me give you a quick example of that. Okay, we have int age, which is 47, and now I just say apple.age is equal to, I'm gonna make him 50 years old, like that. So now I'm just gonna clear my screen and I'm gonna compile the program again, and you can see it gives us an error because it says read-only object, meaning you cannot modify its attributes. However, if I remove this, removed it, and then I run the program, you'd see it's not gonna give us any error. So that's just the const keyword. Thanks for watching.